Well, we made it back over here earlier today, and I did a little grading and cleanup just around the site because all the random piles of junk was driving me nuts. So still got all my metals there and the brick off there. I got a couple more dead trees on the fire I'm trying to get burned up and cleaned up. So now I want to work on tearing out this front porch and breaking up some of the concrete and throwing back down in there. I don't know if anything in the porch is going to be able to be used for fill, but we'll find out. We'll get the concrete out of here for starters. There's a couple of footings on this corner I may try to tear out, and I may just throw, that's where I'm going to pile everything there, all my junk. And somewhere over there, I got a couple more trees. I don't know if you can tell from here, the tops of those oaks are gone, and some of them are ugly. I'm going to tear a couple more of them out, and kind of over that hill is where we're going to get our clay from. So that's why I pushed all that junk there. When it's done, we can just fill it in. So depending on what these footings look like, I may just end up taking them over there. All right, we're just going to move the whole porch at one time. Just not expecting that. So yeah, I may just take those footings over there, bury them later on instead of trying to put them in this crawl space. Alright, I didn't know the whole thing was going to move, so there we go. It's got rebar in it. That's starting to break up. Put the rebar down in the hole just because I don't want to worry about running the roller over it and ruining the back tires. So some of this, that's why I was trying to break that concrete off the rebar. I'll do the same thing with this. Must use corrugated metal. Some of this concrete up, like I said, the rebar will just try to pull over there because it's not worth trying to bury in there and mess with, or because it just seems like no matter what, you'd get most of it buried and there'd be one little piece that would stick up and puncture a tire or something. So yeah, that's the stuff. I don't, like I said, I may not even put that on the slab of the house. These smaller pieces would be all right. I just don't want to put anything in here that I think may eventually settle. So that's why I don't know if I'm doing it 100% the right way with just burying all that extra concrete, but it should be deep enough. With rolling it in as many times I did and the lifts that I did, in theory it should be fine, but I don't technically know. I'm just kind of winging it as well. So I don't normally recommend smashing concrete with the teeth on the bucket, but this stuff's not taking a whole lot of effort, so. This house seemed to be built fairly well. They think maybe it was either a mason or a contractor or something that built it. It's kind of a shame because it was, like I said, a pretty well built house, not in too terrible shape. It was just empty for so many years, and the people that own the property want a much larger house where this one's at, so it's just kind of part of it sometimes. It's what they want, so just kind of roll with that. Guessing the metal must be what they use to form it up, apparently. Set that guy aside. I just like these big flat pieces. This one's probably find a spot for that there. Just get this lift of concrete in there, and then I'll probably be Monday when I get the dozer over here. I'll kind of strip the dirt and topsoil off around the perimeter, and then I may even rake in a little bit of that clay where it just doesn't drop off to there. We can kind of roll the pad a little bit past that hole and kind of lock all that in a little bit. So I may even start trying to dig the borrow pit if I get time here in a little while today. See if we can get some decent clay dug up. I'll have to get the hydrema over here as well. It won't be a really long haul, but I think instead of throwing it behind me and then just pushing it with the dozer, which I mean I guess that's always a possibility, it'd be about as quick just to load it in the hydrema and drive it over here, is what I was thinking. Made it back this morning. First thing I'm gonna do is stack up the fire from yesterday. I didn't get any filming done over here. I didn't get that much work done over here yesterday. Yesterday was a busy day, but not a productive day, is how I would describe it. So I went and got the dozer picked up first thing in the morning, brought it over here because I planned on starting to doze out around the pad, get the topsoil and all the other stuff stripped off of it. And I got the dozer dropped off, and there's a house on the front of this property. I don't know if I've ever even shown, I haven't done anything up there yet. When I start working on the driveway, you'll see it, but it's just got a pretty narrow driveway and a lot of trees like overhanging. So I pulled off there, pulled off in that yard, unloaded the dozer so I wouldn't be able, like, you know, backing off in the street or anything like that. Got the dozer unloaded, got the International stuck, so I had to pull it back out as far as I could to the gravel road with the dozer. And then I got the 12, went up there and cleaned up all my ruts and stuff in that yard. And then the trailer was completely covered in mud from the dump truck spinning, so I went and got that rinsed off at a friend's property. Then I went back to the shop to get the Hydrema picked up, and the batteries were completely dead in it. So apparently that thing's set for so long. I think in the shop it's been up there for like 5 months, 4 months, and over the winter it got so cold that even with having the kill switch on the batteries, it just zapped them or whatever. So then took those out, replaced the batteries, and I got back over here at like 2:30 in the afternoon. So, and then I didn't have I had a camera with me, but I didn't have a battery in it. My camera case was in the dump truck because I'm bad about whatever I drive that morning. I throw everything in there in case I need to film something. So basically all I got done yesterday was on the other side of the machines. I cleared out some more of the trees further down and just kind of cleaned up some of the dead and the tops that were down, because that's down the hills where we're going to dig the borrow pit. And then towards the end of the day, we'll walk over there in a minute and I'll show you, but I dug out where that cistern, that septic tank was, and it's sitting over there. But like I said, we'll go over there in a second when I get this stuff stacked up. But it turned out to be like an old boiler tank, right? Like a 1,000-gallon tank. Looks like something straight out of the 30s or the 40s or whatever, with the way it's riveted and real heavy duty. But and it was plumb full of nasty water. So, and it was getting late in the day, so like I said, I should have probably went and got a battery or whatever to show some of that. I got pictures, but so I got that dug out because I was gonna leave it, and I was kind of intrigued to see what it exactly was when I saw the side of it. So I dug it out, but yeah, now we're back over here first thing in the morning, ready to rock and roll and have a much more productive day. So I'm gonna try to get my fire stoked up first thing, and then I'll probably concentrate on taking some of the concrete, because I got a much deeper hole now than what I did from the basement, and fill that back in where that septic tank was at. And works. I guess we got some rain coming in this afternoon. It's going to be pretty heavy, and I got a pretty deep hole over there right now. So I'd like to start trying to get some of that kind of filled in and packed in and stuff if I can. So I'm going to concentrate on those two things for starters, and then probably at some point I'll get the dozer fired up and we'll strip some of the topsoil junk off around the new house pad. So yeah, it's kind of my update from yesterday. So hopefully the camera's not still foggy. The humidity is 99% right now, so it's a little muggy out. It's only like 70 degrees, but there's no breeze, and I guess we've had so much rain lately. Now when it gets warmer, the humidity is just unreal. So it was that way all day yesterday. Like as soon as I get out of a machine, my glasses like instantly fog over. So yeah, humidity is not much fun. But I don't know if I can get this thing to take back off. I got a lot of really green leafy junk now, but should have enough hot coals in there that it will take right back off here this morning. So yeah, here is the hole where it's a little bit deeper because I had all the sludge and muck that came out of that thing. It was pretty much full, but I punched a hole in the side of it not knowing it was down. There's a big chunk of concrete on top of it, So I thought it was a concrete tank, and then I kept digging and unearthed. It was like an old boiler tank or something like that. It is heavy duty, but it's got the great big rivets and stuff on there. So yeah, I'd say it was a homemade tank for sure. Yeah, you can see where I ripped the side of it out, but kind of surprised. Whew. She still smells good, but yeah, that was quite the homemade tank right there. But so yeah, I wish I had my camera digging that up, but didn't quite have it with me. It was a Monday yesterday for sure. So well, yeah, now I got that hole to fill in, so I'm gonna grab these bigger chunks of concrete, place them in there. This is what I finished up. I may end up taking that tree out because there's not much shape left, and a lot of the other trees kind of rubbed against it. But I'm gonna kind of start down there at the very bottom of it and start really digging in a pretty good deep hole to get down to some good clay, and then a lot of this stuff will just kind of go back in there. So the idea is just to dig a big borrow pit right in here, and then when everything's done, take all this other junk and push in there, and then just blade this back off, because it doesn't ever plan on trying to build or do anything. Just going to be going back to yard right there. So I don't know, I hate to keep taking trees out and going further down the hill. I think I got enough space now, especially if I can dig down extremely deep. Just kind of start over there. I should be able to get enough clay to kind of fill a lot of this in and stuff. So yeah, there's a deer this morning too. We'll start grabbing some concrete and trying to fill this little crater in. Made it back for a new week on the demo slash house pad job. So I didn't get a ton done here last week. Had a couple other little things to go do, and mechanical issues and all kinds of stuff. So had to put batteries in the Hydrema, get it over here, get the dozer here. So then I went out of town at the end of the week, but we are back and hopefully going to get a lot done. It's supposed to be mid-90s, hot and humid all week with no rain in sight. So that'll be good. But I kind of sifted through this before I left last week, and I'm taking this junk and putting back in where I dug out that big septic tank at. Some of it I may string out in the actual house pad, but I got a little bit of dirt and stuff mixed in, which I don't think it's going to matter. But this will be like right outside the house pad, and it's still plenty deep, so it'll make for good fill. It's just not something I maybe want to put, like I said, right inside, but I feel like we need to utilize it instead of just dumping it in the borrow pit. So I'm going to try to, I think I can sift through it or be a little quicker just to use the 2150 and load it in the Hydrema instead of using the 12. I don't have the skeleton bucket over here. And that way I can just dump it in there and then kind of rake it out with the 2150, and then we'll run the roller over it several times and try to pulverize this stuff up as much as we can. But I'm hoping today to kind of get this junk cleaned up, and then maybe start digging the borrow pit. It's kind of going to be a little bit of annoying, I guess, but all that junk has got too much other trash and debris in it, so I'm going to have to put that in the borrow pit. But at the same time, I also kind of shoved it over to the hillside that was cleaned out where we're going to dig the borrow pit. So it may be that I dig like half the pit, try to pull out as much clay as I possibly can, and then doze that stuff over to the other side, fill it back in so I got room. But I hated to carry all that stuff way across the property only to bring it back over there. So I'm trying to, I mean, I'm kind of jostling all these materials around, so you kind of move it 2 and 3 times, but I'm trying to move it to the shortest possible distance if I can do that. So, and I still got to get, you probably can't tell with the shadow, but there's some dead down trees back there I need to pull out and kind of clean up behind that garage. That garage is staying. It's actually in pretty good shape. I do believe they are going to maybe redo the exterior, maybe gonna put a new roof on it, and then they may even change out the doors, windows, And I don't know if the brick, they may even, I doubt they take the brick off. I don't know. I can't remember what. There's going to be some brick and stone on this new house. I don't think it's going to match, but they may make that shop look like the new house. But the shop is staying. I had a couple people ask me that, so I don't know. I'm sure I've answered the comments. The only real reason the house had to come out is because it's in the way of the new house. So it's a nice piece of property. I mean, it's kind of a shame that house was built pretty well, but it's just not what the new homeowner wanted, and it's kind of in the way. So that's why we took it out. So, but yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get all this stuff put in the hole, rolled in, and then I got my Bardo pit site somewhat dozed off as best I could. It's a little tougher on the dozer pushing this junk uphill with roots and stuff in it, but I think what I'll end up doing is kind of digging a little bit up and across here, and then I got a place to put some of that other junk, kind of work our way up the hill, I guess. So I got to dig down about 3 or 4 feet and I get into the good kind of rocky red-orange clay here. So we'll start filling the old Hytrema up and then try to get a couple lifts put in the slab or pad up there. So I just kind of figured, since I'm limited on room, I'll just probably should pull the truck a little closer. Dig down as deep as I can, kind of in this big square area, and then we'll just, like I said, kind of move up and over a little bit and start trying to dig this thing out that way. It's a little bit of a pain because I'm on the side of the hill and I don't want to just keep dozing trees out, so I'm going to try to stay back far enough from those trees I don't get into the roots. There's one tree behind me I may try to dig around, but I may end up having to take it out just to get enough clay and stuff around here. So, and I want to dig down deep enough to get into the real good stuff, just because I don't know, some of that stuff on the top I kind of mix in. It's just a little bit lighter tan color. It probably didn't have quite as much clay, but I want to make sure I got something that compacts in really well, where this really dark red orange stuff down here will be ideal. But you guys may not be able to tell the color difference with the glare on the front window, but